Next to speak is Stella Shekhunova, Director of the Institute of Geological Sciences at the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine. She is an Academician of the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine, Professor, Doctor of Geological Sciences, and she'll be speaking about the Department of Earth Sciences of the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine, current developments and challenges. So the floor goes to you, Ms. Stella. Thank you. Thank you, dear speaker. Dear participants of this congregation, for having this opportunity to talk to each other, communicate, and I'm honored to greet you on behalf of our scientists, of our Department of Geological Sciences at the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine. Today, due to the work of the Union of Geologists of Ukraine, we have a so-called kind of online unification of Ukrainian geological and European scientific communities. And again, I would like to sincerely thank the organizers of this conference for this opportunity. We are fully aware of the fact that our country probably now is going through one of the hardest periods in its history, especially over the last 30 years of its independence, standing up for its independence, standing up for its statehood. Yet be reminded that over 100 years ago, when the formation of the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine took place, the biological service was being shaped at that time. The situation was no better. Yet these processes did take place regardless of any difficulties in political and military situation in Ukraine back in the day. In 1918, thanks to the activities of scientists, academics, natural scientists, Vernadsky, Dudkovsky. Sorry for the disruption. So once again, due to the activities undertaken by natural scientists, Dudkovsky, Vernadsky, documents were established, a draft law to establish the Ukrainian Academy of Sciences. And on the basis of that, Pavlo Skoropadsky, the chieftain of Ukraine at that time, signed it into law, the establishment of the Academy of Sciences of Ukraine. However, the same year, 1918, a decision was taken about the establishment of the Ukrainian Geological Committee. And in August 1918, its first director in Ukraine of this Ukrainian Geological Committee was appointed professor of St. Vladimir University, Volodymyr Luchitsky. And this mutual work and connections between the heads, the chiefs of the Academy and Geological Service, they were preserved. They were so important. They persisted in their importance during all of the years and decades of the geological science development in Ukraine, which I think is also worth doing in our day. In 1925, the first two academic institutions were established. First, it was Poltava Observatory and an institute, or Ukrainian Scientific Research Geological Institute, which since 1940 is titled the Institute of Geological Sciences under the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine. This institute established a great number of other academic, scientific, geological institutions in Ukraine, which now are part of our section of the science of geosciences. I mean, Lviv Institute of Subsoil Geophysics, Geochemistry, Geominerals, and ores formation. Now, we have 14 scientific institutions under our umbrella, and in different years, this section was headed by Starostenko, Shestopalov, Shekhunova, and now this department is headed by Mr. Ponomarenko. Now I would like to outline very briefly some of the areas of research being carried out in our institutions, and to focus not only on the challenges of strategic and critical minerals and raw resources, which we take so close to our heart since 2007 in particular we have been doing. We have been working on a number of different contest programs, developing different scientific baselines for these projects, identifying which mineral resources are critical, strategic, how to expand the base of critical minerals in Ukraine. I would also like to introduce, as Julie Hollis says, some science in my report. Therefore, let me also mention some conceptual issues that we are working on in our scientific community. First, the Institute of Geological Sciences. Different schools initiated by Dudkovsky and Bondarchuk are being developed on general regional geology. We have also a large area dedicated to the geology of minerals, the geology of oil and gas. But something else that makes our institution unique is that we have the greatest number of employees of paleontology, in particular employed in our department. And our institution is also a basic institution for paleontological society in Ukraine, and due to this potential, updated schemes have been developed and approved. Special codes of Ukraine have been established, which are a baseline for doing exploration work in Ukraine and other targeted and purposeful studies and surveys. Another point I'd like to dwell on is the issue of in-depth dehisation of Earth. This issue was developed by Shestapalov and Lukin in our institution, and on the face of it, it looks pretty academic because it connects the global development of our planet with the rest of the processes. However, it also directly has a bearing on the formation of minerals deposits and solving various geological and mineralogical challenges. For example, involving the mechanism of in-depth degassation, we are able to identify the role of how evolution affected carbohydrate formation on the bed of the Black Sea and volcanic activities and the formation of gas and hydration formation. So as a result of all that, now we have some information about the deposits and prognostication about gasogenerates, deposits that require further exploration. This work was done with the help of Shnyubev, Skoberev, Starastenko, and with this concept, what goes along is the first detailed development by Alexander Klimchuk, the theory called by our international colleagues paleogenesis. So this process plays an important role in the processes of shaping zones and areas of anomalies and various kinds of deposits. The war has introduced certain corrections and disruptions in our exploration and survey scientific work that we deal with. In particular, we have been given a grant by the Fund of Scientific Research of Ukraine for the institutes allocated for the years 2023 and 24. We carried out a project to assess environmental condition to preserve the historical legacy reserve of Kyiv-Pechersk Lavra under the conditions of martial law. So when we implement this work, we apply different methods of non-ruinous monitoring based on contemporary structural health monitoring, utilizing the set of pre-manufactured highly vibrological equipment And we are also trying to assess the impact of hostilities on different legacy objects, different intersections. I mean, in the review of paleobotany, we have an article published about the legacy of Ukraine, how this is disappearing after the full-scale invasion of Russia. So we are exploring there what happened to the geological environment of Ukraine after the Kakhovka Dam was destroyed. We also have a lot of historical experience concerning oil, gas, contamination, remediation of these types of contamination. And this expertise will definitely be very much in demand when our country is reconstructed in post-war time. Now, Geophysics Institute, named after Subotin, it's a prominent university when we speak about studying the mantle of the Earth. This is the single institution in Ukraine which deals with monitoring of seismicity in the whole territory of Ukraine. Over the last 20 years, the institute, under the guidance of Mr. Starostenko, unique works have been undertaken. These works were carried out by the employees of the Institute of Geophysics, the Association of Geophysics, in collaboration with the European and US scientists. Then we did lots of Euro bridges. You can see some of these pictures depicted on the left-hand side of the slide. And as a result of implementing this work, unique complex of geological information has been accumulated, which allows us to do different geodynamic schemes and is used in order to prognosticate deposits of critical and strategic mineral deposits in Ukraine. The next slide is to illustrate the monitoring observation in the territory of Ukraine, which is carried out by this institute.
They designed a software for seismic protection and protection of critical infrastructure against earthquakes. Plus, we are now researching the magnetic field of Earth, thanks to the Center of Collective Use, with the most state-of-the-art magnetometric equipment. The Institute of Geophysics Paleomagnetic Studies is using for paleogeographical reconstruction according to the European craton to calibrate the international chronostrata scale. So the Institute of Geology, named after Semenenko, we are researching the geochemistry of the formation of ores, petrological studies, geology, metal generation, and prognostics of the mineral deposits, prognostication. But what the Institute is mostly famous for from times immemorial is development of isotope-based geochronology. So right now, the Institute has the mass spectrometry center of soil, solid phase, gas, isotope, and microelement analysis. Thanks to the designed methodologies, we have identified a huge blocks of Ukrainian crystalline shield, big blocks of croton, and we've established the time age of greenstone belts, 3 generations, and we've proven the relations between the Ukrainian magnetic shield and Kursk magnet anomaly. Also, the use of this equipment has established that mineralization of lead and lithium pegmatites in Stonovsky and Lokinsky is similar to niobium tantal mineralization, which is important to develop the metal generation model of this interesting asset, and secondly, to design and develop the technology of its exploration. The institute also is developing, is the only one agency that does that in Ukraine, which is researching the meteorite substances. And this is the area where this year the institute has received the award, Pablo Lazarenko Award, for a unique scientific thesis, a unique meteorite named Krinka. So now the Institute of Geography. The Institute of Geography of the National Academy of Sciences has now scientific schools of natural sciences and spatial planning, which is a trendy industry, strategic and zoning spaces. We are quite on par with the world research in this, but one of the most important, I'd say, one of the most important works that the Institute of Geography has conducted is Encyclopedia of a Geographic Encyclopedia of Ukraine, a 3-volume publication that we've been using for several decades now. In 2007, we have published the only one national map atlas of Ukraine. It was created thanks to the academician Rudenko, because the Institute of Geography that he was leading was a responsible agency for scientific support of preparing, drafting, and publishing of this atlas. In 2023-2024, the Institute of Geography, as part of the project of National Fund of Ukrainian Research, together with experts of Ukrainian Hydrometeorology Institute as well as Botany Institute, we have designed a geoinformation system of assessment and modeling of zoning, zonal consequences of Russian aggression, and this document has been used actively. The Institute of Geology and flammable flammable minerals. It's studying the potential deposits of oil, gas, methane, of coal. But I cannot be remiss of mentioning of a very famous scientific school that was formed in this institute, which is the research and development of gas deposits thermobarochemistry school, which has been recognized by international community, and it absolutely has to be mentioned. Such great professors as Kalyuzhny, Oleg Petrochenko, Professor Kovalevich. Now this particular part of the studies is continued by Mr. Naumko, and it's our great asset, and we should be using it in our subsequent works and studies of new geological assets. Other than that, the Institute of Geology and Chemistry of Fossil Fuels, we have done the reconstruction of prospects of oil and gas deposits and carbon potential of this territory. In the Scientific Center of Airspace Studies of Earth of the Institute of Geological Sciences, the challenges of today has called the drafted prototype of the mapping of contaminated territories by using UAVs. So there are software and hardware applications of remote detection of explosive items using sensors of different physical origin. So these works are planned under the leadership of Popkov. And a few words about the problems of marine geology, marine ecology, and marine deposits. In this institution, to answer the challenges of the time, to facilitate the needs of southern regions of Ukraine, we have designed a complex technology of research of groundwaters in the coastal area of South Black Sea to spread the potential prospects of their development. These works have been done under the leadership of Yemelyanov. And now talking about challenges that all of our institutions are facing. They are all, in one way or another, related to Russian aggression that has been going on for 3 years now. So we have many of our employees, our scientists, were volunteers or were conscripted to the army. Part of our employees are abroad, but such factors are also having influence as the decrease in budget funding, and we are now limited in the way we can support our young professionals. And also, to some extent, our work has been impacted by geological industry being somewhat stagnant because we don't have access to new materials. Plus, there is instability of the development sector, which is also hampering our development. But the Institute is continuing to cooperate in order to somehow balance out, to compensate for underfunding. We participate in international projects. We cooperate with scientific institutions in Italy, Netherlands, Poland, Germany, France, Sweden, Croatia, Slovak Republic, Spain, Bulgaria, Romania, the US. As an example, the Institute of Geophysics, as part of the partnership agreement with American institutions, is now modernizing and reconstructing the national seismic network of Ukraine. Our institute, the Institute of Geochemistry, Mineralogy, and Ores, together with the Union of Geologists in Ukraine, we're participating of G7 project that was mentioned today by the General Secretary of Euro Service, Madam Julie Hollis. And we are also facing the problem of somewhat diminished numbers of young professionals. So now the Department of Sciences about Earth is 1,200, of them 210 candidates, PhDs and MP and PhDs, but the percentage of the young scientists is not higher than 10%. So we're trying to actively cooperate with the young generation. We have the Council of Young Scientists in our department. We're supporting them everywhere we can. The Academy is conducting competitions for grants for young scientists. As an example, this year, the Institute of Geology and Geological Sciences, Vitaly Dernov, had become the best young scientist of the Academy in 2024. In nomination of paleontology, and he says it's a profession that is dying out, and so the Academy has valued his contribution in restoring it. So on top of that, our unit is publishing scientific journals, geophysical, geographical, geochemical. They are all indexed by Scopus database, as well as Web of Science. There are also a number of scientific works that are professional publications of Ukraine. They're all published using fair science. We don't take payment for that. And access to publications is free, open access. So to coordinate our work and to cooperate with producers, with the vendors, we have committees and councils working, in particular the National Strategic Cartography Committee, Paleontology, Union of mineralogy. There are also committees to cooperate with UNESCO. This is the Committee of Geological Correlation. And also we have scientific councils quite active. So, despite the current challenges, we keep cooperating with state authorities, the Ministry of Ecology and Natural Resources, with the State Geological Service, Ministry of Education. So basically you can see all the ministries that we have connections to. So to sum up, I want to say that I am confident that Ukrainian practitioners, geologists and scientists, through their work, will facilitate and strengthen our mineral deposits and industry. We will restore systemic geological studies and research the way it was back in the day, and we will make a worthy contribution to restoring our economy, and we hope our armed forces will be victorious. And we want to thank them for being able to have this meeting.